I distinctly remember the expression on my mum's face when I announced that I would no longer eat chicken when I was 10 years old. When she asked why, I told her that while cuddling my pet chicken, I'd felt the legs and the wings and all the parts that you eat. And suddenly the thought of putting my pet's limbs in my mouth just felt utterly repulsive. I'd like to introduce my first ever chicken, Bodgie. She's an old chicken now, but still just as feisty as ever. There she is, say hello. All right, she'll be with me for this talk. I've always loved chickens. When I was very young, I decided that I wanted 3 chickens, and I'm not sure what reproductive facts I'd overheard here, but I decided that I wanted to call them egg and sperm. And here is a picture of sperm, or sporm. And my third chicken, I intended to call Roast. I was told, sadly, that we couldn't have chickens due to the lack of space and because of our dog. However, my mum relented when I built the whole coop from scratch with my dad as a holiday project. I named my 3 chickens Bodgie, Fanula, and Eggery Peck. So Bodgie was my pet, and I certainly never thought of her as dinner. And I'm sure many of you with dogs or cats or axolotls might feel exactly the same way. So do some animals deserve to be food more than others? And does the well-being and treatment of those we deem meat rather than pets, is that significant? Most of us in Australia would feel disgusted at the idea of eating a dog. But in countries such as China, they consider dog meat to be the equivalent to beef or chicken. Some people believe cows are sacred and need to be protected, not eaten. So clearly there is a disconnect here in how we differentiate between pets and food across different cultures. In this talk, I want to explore the choices we make about an animal's rights and suffering based on whether we perceive it as a pet or a meal. The animal rights organisation Animals Australia says that as a nation we despise cruelty to animals, but few of us realise that legally sanctioned acts of cruelty to animals happen every day in Australia. In fact, animals raised for food in Australia have been deliberately excluded from the cruelty laws that protect cats and dogs, despite sharing the exact same capacity to suffer. Yes. Currently, our appetite for cheap meat and eggs is being sustained by large-scale factory farms, which involves an incredible amount of animal cruelty. While this affects a huge range of animals, my focus today is on battery chicken farms. This is just a warning. You may find some of these pictures disturbing. It's common knowledge that birds in battery farms endure cramped, filthy conditions, are subject to painful debeaking, and have zero quality of life. Real footage of the inside of a battery cage farm shows chickens stacked in cages 7 tiers high. Their exposed skin filthy and red raw. They forage for scraps in huge mounds of their own poo and spend their whole life unable to experience the warmth of sunlight. They are then taken away to be killed at just 3 weeks of age, still cheeping like baby chicks. Chickens in battery farms are dosed with drugs to promote unhealthy rapid growth years. And these poor birds live out their short lives in torturous conditions. When I watch my chook scratching around joyously in the backyard, I can't imagine depriving these ladies, these curious and somewhat eccentric birds, the ability to perch, scratch or dust bath in the sun. But it's not just the chickens who suffer. Research now indicates that the conditions in factory farms are a significant health risk to humans. Michael Greger is the Public Health Director of the Humane Society of the United States. And he gave a talk in 2008 called Pandemics, History and Prevention. He says in this talk that domesticating animals also domesticated their viruses. Greger outlines the extensive research showing the history of our domestication of animals and its connection with a huge cross-section of illnesses, including measles, smallpox, whooping cough, typhoid fever, influenza, leprosy, bird flu, mad cow disease, Nipah virus, and even the common cold, which originated in our domestication of horses. With the development of factory farms, the potential for viruses to mutate and transfer to humans becomes unavoidable. The stressful and cruel conditions in factory farms are highly significant, not just from a humane perspective, but also because stress has been proven to cause an immunosuppressive effect in the gut of an animal, which can transform previously harmless gut flora bacteria into deadly infections. In an attempt to control disease and increase productivity, factory farms have practiced dosing animals with massive amounts of antibiotics and other drugs. Alongside the multitude of side effects humans can suffer from consuming this heavily medicated meat, there is also the scary fact that this process results in multi-drug resistant bacteria, meaning antibiotics become less effective for human diseases. Viruses and modern pandemics such as AIDS, SARS and COVID-19 are also believed to be the result of us treating animals as a resource for our consumption rather than sentient beings. Markets sell the meat of wolf pups, porcupines and pangolins. And gourmets in the West pay good money for coffee that has been eaten and excreted by the civet cat, which is kept in appalling conditions. World Animal Protection Australia says that every day, thousands of wild animals are poached, farmed or sold into the global wildlife trade. Horrific conditions cause unimaginable suffering for every animal involved and make future pandemics almost inevitable. Even though we may not personally purchase wildlife from wet markets, each time we eat a caged egg or a piece of bacon bred in a sow stall, we have to ignore an animal's suffering and risk our health into the bargain. Now, of course, lots of people don't want to stop eating meat. It can become a very emotive topic. It's true that in the natural world, carnivores and herbivores have evolved and lived alongside each other for eons. It can be argued that being carnivorous is natural. However, there's not much about a factory farm that's natural. Even putting aside the significant environmental risks and issues involved in providing meat for an overpopulated planet, we can't argue with the fact that we turn a blind eye to the miserable lives we inflict on the animals we mass produce for food. This is neither justifiable nor is it necessary. So, how would life be different for us if we treated all animals with the same consideration as we do our pets? What will it cost us to be kinder? And what will the benefits be? Free-range animals raised in natural and regenerative farming systems would be healthier and happier, and consequently, so would we. It's true meat and eggs would be more expensive, but we're also told that we would be healthier if we ate less meat. And this extra cost could easily be outweighed by substituting a delicious vegetarian dinner, such as like a margarita pizza or a steaming bowl of veg curry with roti bread. So, would it kill us to eat a little bit less meat? Or more importantly, will it kill us to keep going the way we are? Ceasing or reducing our meat consumption would result in huge advantages in terms of climate change and greenhouse gas emissions. Ending the cruelty of factory farming and the slaughter of wildlife. Ugh. Sorry, my computer went a bit weird though then. Ending the cruelty of factory farming and the slaughter of wildlife could result in a drastically lower risk of the spread of deadly diseases and viruses. And animals, like my friend Bodgie here, could live a better and more healthy life. The really fantastic news is that making this change towards kindness is something we can all start doing at our very next trip to the shops. We have the power to shut down factory farms simply by what we choose to buy. According to the ABC, free-range eggs now account for more than 40% of all eggs sold in Australia. 1 million chickens are killed each week for food in Australia, but if every person ate one less chicken a week, there would be a significant decrease in demand, and less chickens would have to be butchered. Chickens are, of course, not the only animals suffering in factory farms, and it makes absolute sense in terms of animal welfare, as well as our own health and well-being, to make big changes to the way we farm animals for food across the board. As kids, farmyard animals are the subjects of our stories and our songs. They are our beloved stuffed toys, and most importantly, they are our friends. So, on behalf of our friends, I'd like to spread the idea. Choose wisely, choose kindly. And I think if Bodgie could speak, oh, she can, apparently. I think if Bodgie could speak, she'd agree with me. Thank you very much.